Warm welcome back to the channel, and in today's video I'm going to talk about function mapping. Now, what is function mapping? It's basically when you press one of your F buttons like F2 and the light comes on and goes off. It's actually designed for a sound button or a smoke unit to give that quick puff so it goes on and go on. It's called latching. Not all controllers control or take off latching. Some will latch go on or go off momentarily, and the Gauge Master system doesn't actually do it. Now, a lot of people do mapping with configurations on computers. They use different settings and software to move things around by looking at the mapping of how the functionality of this controls the decoder. Now, you can control the decoder, or there is some settings on the manufacturer's guidelines, and you can tweak them, get different effects. These are set on 15 because this is a Bachmann chip, and you can get like strobing, Mars effect, all that kind of thing. Leaving the decoder set its generic setting, I'm just basically changing the function buttons by using this map to map the lights on the controller. That's what I want to do. I don't want to change how the lights operate. I just want to operate them from the controller to switch them on and off. Okay, function mapping in a few easy steps, and it is pretty much a few easy steps. So step one, take your controller, press the buttons and see what happens. If you press a button and a light comes on, make a note, F1 front left, F2, okay, so that's the basics. Now, if you find some buttons that are not actually doing anything, you will find you're like, oh, this is not doing anything, not doing anything. So these would be your spare buttons. Anything that's not operating, these are your spare buttons. Make a note of all the buttons that are not doing anything, okay, and make a note of the buttons that are doing something. So you write F1 front right, F2 top rear, F7 blank, F8 blank. So I've made a note already of all my functions of what I've done, okay, but ignore this for the moment. It's just purely my reference. So how do I get all that information that I've just shown you from your loco? Using the chart that I'm sharing, you can reconfigure all your mapping and all the things you need to do. Now, to find out if a channel is empty, that's the most important thing first. So if you've got a function button, you pressed it and nothing works, go to Program Track, and we go to read, okay, press read, and okay, now on your function mapping list, you'll see that F9 equals CV43. So if you actually type in CV43 and press enter, it should come back with 0. This button is turned off, this function is empty. So we now have an empty button. We now know that F9 is empty, so let's actually program that in, and this is the first steps of actually mapping your lights. So let's go back. We need to go back to right. This is read. Program track, enter, and we go to CV. Now we know that was CV43, so with F9, so F9, which is this button, so we now know on the map that's CV43. So if we write CV43, enter, now it's asking for the data. Now we actually now know the data because that button's empty, so we now need to put because we've read all the CVs already, we know, so we want to put in data 4. If I put data 4 in there, okay, that will move what's on the F1 button to F9, and that is easy as that. Okay, so that is now assigned to that button. Let's have a look what that looks like.
So let's put two lights onto one function. So again, we'll use F9. So CV43, that's the F9 CV value. Okay, now looking at our chart, we want to use the F1 wire, which is number 4. So we can use 4 and 8. Okay, so we want, these are the two lights that I want to reconfigure. What's on that one there? So 4 and 8 equals 12. So if we actually put in 12 in there, that will now run both lights, both red lights all together on the top of this train, and that is it. So let's come out of that and let's have a look. We actually reconfigured F9 to run the top red lights on both sides. Now if I press F9, you'll see that both the lights on the front and back come on and off. Okay, let's move the train a little bit closer. There we go, and you'll see F9, so both the lights are on. There we go. So that's how you reconfigure your CVs. You're remapping your buttons to suit your train. So you can have your red light on the front, red light on the back, or you can have both lights on like that. That's on 3 buttons. So I've now done that so you can see how you reconfigure your light. And we had F2, which was that light that kept flashing. Okay, we don't want to keep pressing F2 to make that light flash anymore. We've changed that. That will still work until I delete the value. So I need to go to F2 on the right configuration, and then I would actually write CV36 and data 0 like it was for F9 when I first found an empty function. Once I've done that, the F2 button won't actually work. Okay, but for the purpose of this video, you can see that was the problem we had, and we've now remapped it. I've now got F8 that actually controls that all on the time. So every time I press F8, that light now stays on. Okay, and then I've got my main lights, and then I've got directional lights, all that kind of thing, and I can actually move these lights at the front on as well. So yes, so I've got a lot of lighting functions. I hope this helps, and it is really simple. It doesn't need to be as long-winded as it all sounds, but I hope this helps people, and give it a go and see how you get on.
And a little bit of reconfiguring, that's not easy to say, the CVs, remapping the CVs for the controller to turn the lights on. Scary stuff. Not really, it's not too bad. So yeah, don't be afraid of it. You know, I don't know everything, and I confess that. I do not know everything about CVs, but use that table, or the table I share. That will give you all the parameters you need to set your CV settings without blowing anything up. Now there was a reason for me doing this video with this particular engine, and at the time I did not know this, but I chose this loco because this was one of the locos that the light flashed on the end, almost like a signal to say choose me. Now this loco has had choose me from many times now. When I grew up in Harrow, Nan and Grandad used to live in Ruislip, and my uncle's room used to look over to the depot, and I remember seeing the Sarah Siddons and the other one. There was two. I remember it being a grey colour, but and that might be the one that's in the museum, London Transport Museum. I can't remember if that was grey at the time or it had been restored. I don't know, but I know there was 3 at one point, but I don't know if I was young enough to remember that. I think there was a turn, but I know there's 2 in existence. One runs, one's preserved in the Transport Museum. I know which is which, so don't panic. Now, I've always had a like for them. Obviously, I grew up with my dad, and my dad had the one that I made up after he passed. So they've had quite a link in my life, these locos, for some strange reason. So it is. But this is the most weirdest of it all, really. When I went to buy this one, because about 4 years ago, I built Dad's one, and then I wanted one to run around the layout. So I went to the model shop down in Alton, and there was 3 in there, and the ones that I wanted, both have been sold apart from this one. And this is the John Milton. Now, at the time wasn't the one I was super keen on, because I'm like, I wanted the other 2 models because of the colour of the roof and all that kind of thing. But it was a Siddons, it was a Bobo at the end of the day, and that's what I went for. Anyway, I bought this particular loco, and it wasn't until I started doing this project, actually this video, I actually learned a little bit more about myself and this train, and who it's named after. And that's the most ironic thing about all this. Now, John Milton, believe it or not, used to live, obviously in the 1600s, 9 miles from my house. You can't write that, can you? I bet he didn't either. So John Milton, I've actually been to his house today, went to see. You can't actually get to the estate because it's owned on a farmland. It's still got a plaque on the wall, and I took a little drive out to go and have a look at it. I was like amazed to find it, but I found it. There's not a lot to look at, if I'm honest, but I took a photograph of that, so it was a nice thing to do, and I'm glad that I've done that. So I've learned a little bit of history about John Milton. Obviously he's a famous poet back in the days, but it's also the name of my loco, and it's also linked me from when I was a kid to my dad to this, to where I live. Very strange, very strange indeed, but there we go. Call that fate, I think they call that. I believe in fate and gut feelings. That's how I live my life. So there we go. That brings me to an end of this video. So it's time for me to go and get a cup of tea, relax, chill out, let the cat sit back in my chair. Not happy about that. Yeah, funny thing. Anyway, have a lovely day for whatever you're doing, and we'll catch you on the next video, or if not, an exhibition very soon. Take care, and I'll see you all very soon. Cheerio, bye.